Hey, this is Draco. Today I'm gonna do a tournament report from this weekend's Collective Cup in Aalborg, Denmark, where I managed to get our mono blue Merfolk list here into the top four. It was a really great event. The deck ran really well. So today I'm gonna just give a bit of a rundown of the deck and then go all through all the rounds, what was happening in Crazy Place, and hopefully you guys will enjoy hearing a bit about the tournament. So first of all, of course, the deck itself. We managed to play with this deck here. Again, it's the same deck that I've been playing for a long time. We got the 1-drops, the Tide Shapers, the Benthic Biomancers. We got all the 2-drops, Lords, all 8 Lords, the Tricksters, the Adepts, 2 Glassful Mimics, 4 Sphere Loons. These were performing really well. A couple of interactive spells like Weapon Snacks, 3 Force Negations. For Ether Vials, of course, they are really great, and I managed to get a lot of value out of them. And then we run 4 Spreading Seas, which means that we have in all 8 Seas effects from the Tide Shapers. The mana base is with 1 Cavern. We didn't see that much counter magic, so that was not that relevant. Of course, Minamo. All 4 Mutavaults. We go with Oboro. Double Otavara, they were really good, and a couple of Waterlogged Groves, which helps us filter out some of our lands later on. The sideboard, 3 relics against graveyard-based decks. There's a lot of those. 4 counterspells against combo. Thieving Skydivers against artifacts. And also sometimes can be put in as a Miser aggro creature. That's actually pretty good sometimes against the Ragavan decks, especially if they have a lot of removal. Then sometimes it's actually just fine to have a couple of 2-1 flyers. Couple of Brazen Powerhouse. These were performing really well as well this tournament. And 3 Subtleties, which was the best card from the sideboard this tournament. So we met Amulet Titan round 1, Crashing Footfalls, 4-color Control. We met Eldrazi Red, and we met a couple of Yawgmoth, and then we ended up in the semis versus Saga. And I'm going to go through all the matches and just talk a bit about what happened. First round, ready, well prepared. We met Amulet Titan. This was, of course, normally a really difficult matchup, but actually I think that we went in prepared, focused. I actually managed to see that he had a primeval side. When he showed his deck box, I was really focused. When I'm playing with my own deck box, when I'm taking out my cards, I really want to make sure that people don't see my cards, so I have them like this, away from them, Um, yeah, so they can't see that I'm playing these nice Merfolks here. Old border. Yeah, it's nice. But I saw his Primeval Titan, which actually gave me a bit of an advantage because then I knew I had to play it correctly. We had a pretty good draw in that game. The first game he started out by playing a Vial on turn 1. He had a bit of a slow draw, and we could. But he turn 2 he played the Ursa Saga. So this was the version that's playing Ursa Saga, just like this one. And we managed then to just play our Tide Shaper on his Ursa Saga, immediately killing it, which was really, really great. And then because we had the Vial played on turn 1, we could then go into turn 3 playing Lord of Atlantis off the Vial, and we had a Glasspool Mimic, so we could play that and copy the Lord. So now suddenly we had a lot of power on board, and we managed to simply overpower him. We even just to get in for damage and put more pressure on, we just bounced his Arboreal Grazer with a Vapor Snack because he had no islands, so we could just get in for more damage and just pressure on. So we won one game, one really handily. Game 2 was interesting. We started out again with a really great draw, Vial on 1. Turn 2, it was kind of like the same, but this time we used Spreading Seas to get his Ursa Saga down. The great tech here is that when you then hit the Ursa Saga, yes, it goes away, it dies, but you still get the draw, so that was really nice. And we actually did the same play again, where we managed to play a Lord of the Vial and copy with Mimic, overpower him. But the big play in this game was that he actually managed to use he managed to play a Primeval Titan off his Castle Garenbrig, So that was actually pretty fast. He had a decent run because he played an early Dryad of the Elysian Grove. So he could power out a Iron Brick and activate it. But then we had brought in the subtlety from the sideboard. So this was a great play. We could actually hardcast the subtlety at that point, and immediately rooming his Primeval Titan. Or I actually think we evoked it, but anyways, it was just a big tempo play, and then we could hit in for 14 damage without him being able to block. Because a big thing to note here is that the Dryad actually gives all his lands the island basic land type, which means that we are unblockable. Handily beat him. Each round was like 50 minutes, but this round we only played for 22 minutes. So, and I just want to show a picture now. Just this is from the event, and this is a picture of the second game. So you can see here, we managed to get out our vial early. Nice purple sleeves. He's his Dread of the Elysian Growth and the Garen Brick. But then we had the Subtlety in hand, and we could Subtlety his Primeval Titan that he played the next turn. You can see here he played the island, Primeval Titan, and we managed to just Subtlety that away. Next round we met Temur Rhinos, the deck that are playing a Violent Outburst or a Shardless Agent in order to cascade directly into Crashing Footfalls, creating 2 Rhinos. This was also a really interesting matchup. He seemed to have a really good round 1, and he seemed like he was focused and energized, so I was a bit nervous about this matchup, also because they're playing these 4 Furious main deck, which can be a beating for us. We had a really good game 1. We immediately put in, again, a Vial on 1, just the best possible start you can have. We managed to Tide Chipper in turn 2. This was not on our Saga or anything, but this is a really greedy mana base the Crashing Footfalls decks are running. So we managed to stall him a bit on his mana by using a Tide Chipper. And then we could we played the Tide Shaper, and then in the end step of turn 1 we could also, because we got the tick on the vial, played the Tide Shaper, and then the end step we could play in the Benthic Biomancer. So this is where actually the Benthic Biomancer is pretty cool sometimes, because you get an early counter on the vial which you can use to play Benthic Biomancer. So this meant that suddenly we actually had a pretty good pressure, because we also had a Lord in hand. But he untapped with 3 mana up, including the red mana at that point. So now we needed to be aware that when we're attacking in, he could easily have Violent Outburst, which is an instant. So now he can create his Rhinos at instant speed. We had a Vial on 2, we had a Lord in hand, and we had a Vapor Snag in hand. So I knew I had something here. So my plan was to attack with the 2 creatures. If he then, of course, wanted to go for the Rhino play, which was pretty obvious he had, we could just Vial in the Lord before he declared blocks, so they would be unblockable because of the Island Walk. We did that, but he actually had a Solitude in his deck. He played a white version of this deck, so he played a Solitude, and you can play Solitude at instant speed to do exile effect on the Lord of Atlantis. So my Lord said bye bye, and he double blocked, but I could Vapor Snag one of them and get in for some damage, and only get one beaten out. You can see here, this is just a picture from that specific game. Hang on. Yeah, so this game here. Luckily, he used a lot of resources doing that play with the Solitude. So we managed to overrun him because we had double Mutavaults and we could replay another Lord. So this game was actually pretty handily over, even though he had a good bounce back from the early aggression. Game 2 was much more close. Just see a screenshot of his map here. What happened in this game was actually that we started out in this game 2 with the early Tide Chipper, and we managed to counterspell his Teferi. So that was pretty good, putting in Tide Chipper. I just played it on 1 because just wanted to go on the beatdown. And we countered Teferi, and on turn 3 we played the Svealoon. He actually did a really big mistake on the Svealoon, which sometimes they do. This is just a snapshot from online where I played a game online and someone did the same thing. Sometimes they play the Fury and just 4 damage to the Svealoon, but you have a Mutavault activation up here. So this is exactly what happened with this guy as well. And I could activate the Muda Vault, getting this Svenlund to be indestructible, and he just missed out on his value. He even had one more to pull away some of our creatures, as you can see. But because he did that play, of course, we were still in it at that point. Um, and actually, I gotta say that Svenlund was really, really powerful, and also because a lot of people didn't really know about the card that much, so they had to sit and read it. It was pretty funny. But he managed, to, of course, to double. When he double furied, he cleaned my board up. Luckily, I got a couple of Mutavaults. He played an Omnath and he played the Shardless Agent. To our luck, he actually in 2 rounds that was crucial didn't draw land for the Omnath, so he didn't manage to get life, and he were pretty down on life, and we managed to, even though the board state was pretty crazy, double Fury, double Rhinos, a couple of other creatures, especially the Omnath, but we managed to clutch Lord top deck into double Wunderwald activation and kill him. So we were 2-0, 2-0 going into round 3, and in round 3, this is where it got pretty crazy. He played again against a guy who played a 4-color control deck. He was brewing all night. His name was Ulva, and Ulva is like Ulvenvold tracker. Ulf means wolf, and this guy has been brewing his own homebrew all night, which was pretty scary because I never played against Dagon Shadow Slayer, and I never played against Extinction Event and cards like that in in constructed with Merfolk. Anyway, in game 1, we managed to just get a really smooth draw. Combining a couple of adepts with master effects, and and uh, and punishing his greedy mana base with spreading seas. So we easily overpowered him in game 1. In game 2, we had a pretty bad hold. I think maybe we should have not held that hand, but he played at turn 3 Teferi, and we were sitting with Svelun and Subtlety. But the problem with Subtlety and Teferi at that point, he managed to clean out our board, is that he'll just put the Teferi back on top. Then I could play the Svelun in my turn. He could just play Teferi again and bounce it. We never really bounced back from that Teferi in game 2. Game 3 was a really close match because he actually successfully used Extinction Event in a couple of rounds. Of course, we have a lot of 2-drops. That was pretty close. We actually had 3 Silvergill Adepts at that time. But we managed to do a clutch end step Trickster and top deck a Lord, and then we could exit the Mutavaults for the win in game 3. Round 4. Round 4. Now we are 3-0. In round 4, we played against this interesting deck here, which was Eldrazi Red. I never really played against this deck before, and I was a bit confused in the initial part of the start because he mulliganed to 5, and he played a Chalice on 1, and I didn't know really what was going on. But we managed to have a really good draw against him as well. We did seize on his Singleton Mountain on a mulligan to 5 for him. That was a big stall, so our spreading seas again taking out. And notice this is a recurring theme. These spreading seas actually gained a lot of value, and we did a lot of valuable plays with them. And then we could just put down a lot of pressure, and his Chalice on 1 didn't really do anything. Game 2, we had an early Benthic Biomancer, and we could stall him with Tide Shipper. Our Tide Shipper locked down his Eldrazi Temple. Immediately when I saw the Eldrazi Temple, I knew what was going on. And he tried to put on pressure the other way around, but we can, of course, go bigger than these decks, especially if we stall them. And the big play in Game 2 that really won us the game was that he played out the Cavern of Souls, and with big confidence, he then proceeded to play Reality Smasher, naming Eldrazi from the Cavern. But we could actually hardcast the Subtlety of 4 mana and put his Reality Smasher back on top. This was where the game really swung back in my favor. I think he was confused that I was pushing, but I knew that I could make a swing back. The Subtlety, put the Reality Smasher back on top, and then we could Lord into double Mutavault activation and beat him in the next round afterwards. So he didn't even get to replay the Reality Smasher. Round 5. Now, actually, there was only 3 players left in the tournament at that point with a 4-0 score. All 3 was in the same car, so that was my crew I was playing with. That was pretty fun. The other 2 guys, they met each other, so they could draw into the top 8, but I had to play, and I met Golgari, Yawgmoth. which is actually a really strong matchup, or a really tough matchup. I mean, for us, they have a lot of early creatures that can both block and trade off well, like Yawgmoth. They don't have natural islands, and typically they don't really have that much value for us to hit on spreading seas. But we need to actually keep them in spreading seas so we can get unblockable, because otherwise we won't be able to hit through. So it's a bit awkward playing against these decks. And if they get their combo off with Yawgmoth, um, and Blood Artist, they can of course kill us. We don't have that much interaction to that, but Yawgmoth is just really strong on his own, because he can pick off all our small creatures. So this deck is actually really scary, and I don't like playing against Grist either. This is such a strong card as well. Um, we had a fast draw in round one. He had a fast draw in the first game. I mean, he played the Ignoble Hierarch, which is a strong addition for them, so they can ramp out early into a turn 3 Yawgmoth and just run away with the game there. In game 2, we managed to tie Chipper, his only black source, stalling him a bit. He played a Hierarch. We could, and then were ready to Yawgmoth in turn 4, but we could then play in Trickster in upkeep, tapping down the um, the Hierarch, which meant that he was not available. He didn't have enough black sources available. And then that tempo swing where we stalled him with the mana denial a bit, both from Trickster and from the Tide Chipper. We managed to then overload him on the attack from Island Walk, granted by the Tide Chipper activation. Game 3 was really close. We actually did a mistake in this play. This was my first mistake of the tournament, in a situation where I he had a Vial. He played Vial in his deck. That's a pretty interesting tech. But in his Golgari, a Yawgmoth deck, played Vials, either Vial. So he had an Eel Vial on 4, and I was nervous that he had the Yawgmoth in play. Um, but I went in with the putting down a creature from the vial, from my vial, and I could swing in for 14, and he was exactly 14. But I was nervous that he had the Yawgmoth, so I waited a turn, and then he top decked Eldritch Evolution and found his Yawgmoth and went off with his combo. So I did the mistake there. I should just have went for it at that time, because I would have been dead to the Yawgmoth anyways, because he got his combo back online. But I managed to, in round 6, to tie into top 8, and then we went to the quarters. So really strong showing in the first rounds. I even in the draw into top 6, I played for fun, just the guy we draw against, and this was also one of the guys I went with tournament with, playing Izzet Control, and here I also beat him just in the fun game for 2-0. But I should mention it because Bastian got his ass handed to him. um, Anyways, in the quarters, we actually randomly met this guy again with the Yawgmoth list, and this time I was just razor focused on I needed to win this tough matchup. In game 1, we had a fast draw. We managed to get a really good push on him. He also had a mulligan to 4, and because he mulliganed to all the way down to 4, we could spreading seize his resources and mana deny him. That's worked really well. He actually resolved a York, but he was too little. There was too little, too late, as we already were. He was down on life, and he wasn't able to use the effect to that much value. In game 2, we had a fast draw, strong position early. But he managed. No, actually, he had a fast draw, and he had a strong position early. He managed to get a turn 2 Grist out, and he had both Young Wolf and Geisters and Draft. And actually, these cards, if you don't have an unblockable, I think that these cards, Young Wolf and Strangleroot Geist, are so tough to play against. Um, so so we were a bit struggling in this game, but we managed to grind it back by being really conservative with our blocks and with our aggression. He continuously pushed in these guys with favorable attacks, because he had the Ignoble Hierarch Exalted trigger, and he actually had double trigger. So continuously these Strangleroot guys that were, I couldn't really block them because they would just go back, and they were continuously 4/3 creatures pushing in. So we went down to 4, and then he also played the Blood Artist. He didn't find his Yawgmoth in this game, which was lucky for us. But the reason why we were able to win was actually that we managed to bounce. One time when we had an interaction where I attacked with him, I managed to trickster down the Blood Artist, so he didn't get any activations, and I also managed to bounce it with Otavara. So because we kept the Blood Artist off board the right place, the right destinations, this was a really good situation for us. And here you can see a bit of that board. You see he plays these vials. This was the vials on 4. And then yeah, and but we managed to do the swing back after we deactivated the trickster, because we had a seize in hand. We could make our creatures unblockable, and we managed to win the 2-0 in a really close and long match against this guy. So I'm really excited about that we managed to win that. In the semis, we met this new crazy Yunt Saga deck, and I actually like this deck a lot. This guy is playing it was really nice. A guy named Jan Mark, not Denmark, but Janmark. This is just a pack of good cards. Not only are they playing Lurus, they're playing Dragon Rage Channel, Ragavan, Tarmogoyf, Renin 6, and then of course Inquisition and Thoughtseize. So he had this deck roughly put together, and it looked really strong. It's actually exactly this list, also running the 4 Ursa Saga. And he said that earlier this tournament he played against a Merfolk player. We were 2 Merfolk players there, so he said I have a really easy matchup. He expected that, but the games were so close that afterwards, even though we lost this game and went out in the semis, he told us that this was an insane deck to play against, and that he was pressured to the limit. And he also did a couple of mistakes, as I will reveal a bit later. In game 1, he managed just to overpower us with removal, and then granted us out on Tarmogoyf and especially Dragon Rage Channeler. So there was no really game in game 1. That game we did what we could, but he just had too much removal. Game 2, we did early mana denial. Again, I just see a pattern where the Spreading Seas and Tide Shapers can be really valuable against these greedy mana bases. We also managed to game 2 to use Spreading Seas on his Ursa Saga, getting that off board again. Really strong interaction. That's why I really think that the Spreading Seas are strong at the moment, because there are so many Ursa Saga out there. We also had a really good play where we managed to use our Merfolk Trickster when he attacked in with his Tarmogoyf. So Merfolk Trickster 2/2, make Tarmogoyf into a 0/1 and block. And I actually did a double block at that time with a Tide Shaper as well, because I needed to make sure that he didn't blow us out with Unholy Heat. So we won that game. In game 3, we mulliganed down to 5 in the semis. That was so rough, but we actually were really close to winning. In that game, the reason why we were so close to winning and coming back all the way is actually because of the relic of Progenitus. It kept his double Dragon Rage Channeler on the ground. It kept his Tarmogoyf low, and even kept his Ren and 6 from getting too much value from the 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 fetch lands in the yard. So relic of Progenitus in this matchup is so important. I actually even really wanted to sometimes and consider should I have 4 relics here, because they are so good in the matchups. They're good. They are so good. Um, we also did a lot of good plays in that game by putting in the Svealoon at clutch moments and blocking him. And notice here that he also did a mistake where he at this point, look here, he terminated um, the he was tired at this time. I could tell. We were also been playing for like 8 hours, but he terminated the Svealoon even though I had indestructible. He's normally a really good player, but this was of course a mistake. Afterwards, he attacked in with his big Tarmogoyf, because now he hadn't used his Ren 6 activation, so he shut down the Tide Shaper and attacked in with the Tarmogoyf. I blocked, and then I activated the Mutavault. So it was like 2 blowouts in one turn. Um, yeah, so great showing from Svealoon, gotta say. Um, but that was basically the tournament. I won some nice prizes, as you can see. Really nice, really nice. Make it a bit bigger so you can see what was going on here. And in here we got a new playmat. I like this Ultimate Guard, clean white color, really nice. A little cap, so it can look really cool for the stream. Really nice. A little mini deck box from Ultimate Guard. I like that they use recycle stuff now. And then this little life pad, digital life pad, also really nice. And then of course we got a lot of store credit. They have a web shop, so I could buy a lot of products online. More cards, stuff like that. So great tournament. If we look on our deck and evaluate, I would say that I'm still totally sure that 8 Lords, 8 Seize effects is the right way to go, at least for me, the way I play the deck. I also really like the mana base, that I never really stumbled on my mana base this time around. Force of Negation were again necessary and good. Sometimes they can be awkward, and sometimes it'll cost you too much value. But I just think it's too necessary to have them. They could potentially be in the sideboard instead. That's something I might be able to test out at some point. Um, the Vapor Snacks is should probably be a fading hope. I think there was a situation where I would have um, uh, preferred the Scry one. I'll do some more testing, but for this tournament, the Vapor Snack it was a bit relevant, but not that much. And I think I could have used the Tinker effect to Vapor Snack my own tricksters sometimes to get a little more information when I need a clutch draw. Subtleties are amazing. I see some people playing 4 subtleties main, and that could also be better than Force of Negation at the moment. There are so many elementals running around, so this should be maybe 4. I like Brazen Boros. I like that card. I like a sideboard pretty decently. We didn't get to use Skydiver that much, but when I play online against artifacts decks, they're really good. Um, but all in all, really great showing. We had a really good standing, played well. And one other thing I wanted to go through was also how I prepared for the tournament. Of course, I got a lot of sleep. I had to play it a lot up until, but I also was really focused on not, drinking soda and eating candy and stuff like that, because that'll just crash you if you need to play in 8 hours. So I did my normal morning routine with intelligent food. From the morning. You need to get your breakfast in. I eat a banana right before we started the tournament. We started at 11, so 10:30 I eat a banana. I got after the first round, I did some a little bit of bread, so I just got something in me. And throughout the day, I had nuts and raisins that I could eat. Nothing with too much sugar or anything like that, but something that just kept my energy at the right peak. And then I had an apple. When I get to the quarters, I went down and bought a cola, because at that time I think it's all in. Let's get the nitro on the car and go into hyperdrive. So that was a pretty good way of stopping and going all in on the end. But I was razor focused all the way through, and I think I played really well. I think I did really few mistakes. It's so bad, it's so tough to play and don't do mistakes. And one of the things I also noticed is that people were really uh, they 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 showed a lot of emotions, and they signaled a lot of things when they were playing. Being frustrated about, I should keep this. Maybe it's not a good keep, or they're drawing a card saying, or they're signaling so much, and it's so important never really to show any signs when you're playing it live. As I know, people have been playing at home for 2 years now, and then it doesn't really matter. But I think you gotta have some poker face. You gotta be able to just sit there, even though you have nothing. Maybe they'll do a mistake, focus on the next play and don't signal anything. I think that's really important. And then, of course, the Easter egg. I promised just to have a little game in the end here. This is gonna be from a modern league I played yesterday, where we're playing again artifacts. I don't want to go through all the modern league itself. It was a bit back and forth. I think we ended on 2-3 or 3-2 or something. But this was just an interesting game playing again artifacts. So I want to show you this game. Um, this was actually pretty nice. Okay, so we kept this hand without knowing what to play. They played out a Moon Snare prototype, and this is a play I want to test out. We were considering, should we counter this? And of course, this is a situation where that might be aggressive, but again, maybe this crucial to their hand. So we used to force it and played out a Biomancer on 1. So Divilo plays out the Ursa Saga. Annoying, we don't have an answer to it at the moment. He had another Springleaf Drum, so maybe the force was a bit too aggressive. Plays out a Mem Knight, but I think maybe it can be argued that the Moon Snare is so strong that we need to get it off the board. So we draw another force. Here it's a situation where do we go for the adapt to find a solution? Of course, this deck is it's so important for them to use the Ursa Saga to create a lot of tokens, construct tokens, because those are actually the primary win condition. Or one of the biggest win conditions is just generating a lot of big artifact creatures. But we couldn't interact with it. So we of course he got he'll get his construct token. We couldn't do anything about that. So instead we just wanted to play the master out and get in for 2 with the Benthic Biomancer. So get his 5/5, pretty strong play. The force looks bad here, but the Mutavault is a good play against the construct token. It can get it off board. We might as well attack first. Here's a consideration: is do you do it now, or do we just wait? So in his turn, he taps out, creating another token. Now it's 2 6/6s. And now, actually, I think he plays a Thoughtcast or something now. And finds his Shadow Spear on Hopter. Of course, here we are. No, yeah, that's because we knew that he was going to find something from. Yeah, he plays a Thoughtcast, and this is where we're considering: do we counter this? But we can't really do it because maybe he'll attach his Shadow Spear on the construct token. He doesn't, and he attack, and we can take out the 9/9. So it goes away. Top deck mode, not a good draw. Play out the Mutavault. We can still get in for 5 damage, and we also have an adapt potential for Benthic Biomancer, so we can cycle away the island on hand. As we talked about with Benthic Biomancer, that's actually a pretty decent advantage to be able to have. And we do it here because we want to find a Trickster. We find a Glasspool Mimic a bit awkward. Considering should we just throw away the Glasspool Mimic, but then again the Glasspool Mimic will give us a Trickster copy next turn, which will allow us to remove the construct token. So I think we correctly just pitched the island to the trigger. Oh yeah, actually we threw the force of negation. It's not a good card against them. The island could be relevant also because we want to use our Warlock Grove next turn. So I think actually it's correct to use the force of negation. Typically they don't really play that many cards that we needed. We could of course have thought cast that one, but we don't want to throw away our Glasspool Mimic as it's our out to get it online. The problem here is that of course he gets lifelink, gets it for 10. Ouch, that hurts. And now we are in a rut. 10/10 lifelink. Okay, it's a problem. We are not really winning this game at this moment. We didn't draw anything. We just drew a lot of lands. So this situation, we need to find out what's the correct play to do here. Instead of trickstering here, because he'll just get lifelink. So the problem with Trickster here is that it doesn't kill his construct token anymore because then it would become a 1/1. That's fine. Then his turn is a 10/10 again. So instead we just copied the master. And now the plan is to block the 4/4 going down to 6, and if we're lucky, he goes to 3, but we can maybe draw something. But he just have analysis, which is going to be a win. So he beat us handily in game 1 due to Ursa Saga running rampant. In game 2, we are looking into the sideboard. This is actually the primary thing I wanted to talk about against these artifact decks because they are it's so big in the meta game right now. We want to get in Brazen Borrows because they can bounce. He can bounce the construct tokens when they're relevant. And the Seeming Skydiver, of course, great against these artifact decks. This hand is a bit awkward. We are on the play, so we need to mulligan that because we can't really hold a hand with one land, especially without this one. This is better because now we have the Glasspool Mimic, so we can play that on 1. And then we got the Spreading Seas, which is great against Ursa Saga. we're considering what to put back. Vapor Snag is good against him, but not good early. So that's optimal to put back. We were considering, do we put down a Lord? But actually, sometimes just chaining Lords can just be a winning strategy. He puts down his Moon Snare. Great draw. If chaining Lord was a strategy to win by, let's put it down, because they'll buff each other. Everybody gets island walk. He have natural islands, no risk there. And you can see here now, no, he has no versus Saga, which means that we can just keep doing it. We talked about the Darksteel Citadel last time. Don't spreading seas that one. It'll just become a seed of Synod, so it's just gonna be an artifact blue source. So instead, we're just gonna chain masters. I think here he chooses to dismember the Lord, which is actually fine for us. I know that's a good sideboard strat, and he should definitely do it. He can also kill a Sphere Loon. But here, the Lord still technically gave him 4 points of damage, so I'm not sad about that at all. Thoughtcast, what a great card. And Either Spellbomb. Either Spellbomb is interesting. Now we can bounce one of our things. He can't do it this turn though. Tide Chipper, interesting draw. So now we need to put the pressure on before he starts doing something crazy. This deck can just explode sometimes, so we need to put it under pressure. We can't stall around waiting for Ursa Saga. So we both put down the Master and the Tide Tipper to put the maximum pressure on the board. And here, you can see here what gonna happen. Now we say, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, Ursa, Lord High Artificer, great card, great play. Get it down there, get a 6/6. Now he's got a lot of mana. He even plays a Thought Monitor. You can see how they're just chaining things together. A Memnite just putting all his stuff on the board. This is where the deck really feels strong. He had either Spellbomb activation up. He plays a Thoughtcast, an Onihopter. I can see this is just, from being, totally down. Now he's got a crazy board on 13 life. We drew a Lord. What to do now? The 10/10, we can kill that with the Trickster. But is that the correct play? Here we're considering we should either get the construct token off board, or we should get in for the damage. But if we play down the Lord, you will get in for... I think that's... yeah, it's exactly lethal. But the problem is that he has the Either Spellbomb. So is the correct play to have Trickster up, or is it to attack with... play the Lord and attack with all? If we play the Lord, attack with all, he'll bounce one Lord, and then he'll take 7 damage. But then it will be really vulnerable to him finding the lifelink Shadow Spear. So the correct play here is to just attack with the Tide Chipper. He can't in any way, shape or form get that to not being unblockable. And then just tricks it down the construct token. He plays the Ursa Saga and the Consulate Dreadnought. Interesting tech. This card is also something they play a lot, and it'll get relevant next turn. So he just spins Ursa. Hits Thoughtcast, not bad. Here, important, we need to trickster down the construct token before he managed to get a Metallic Rebuke counterspell, so he can counter it. So on the stack, 2 draws ready for him. Let's get that card off the ground. Let's get it off there. He is gonna return the Thought Monitor to his own hand, which is a good signal for us that we're doing the right things right now. So I'm happy about seeing that. And here he's not finding his solution. And because he now used his Either Spellbomb, or he can't really bounce anything. So he's just going off, creating value, exploding on the board. But we have a dominant position anyways, and now he can't really interact with us. So it's on to game 3. In a bit. He keeps searching. But again, interesting play here. Interesting situation. Nothing really to change in the sideboard. Doesn't become better. counter spells are not good against these guys because they're doing so much, so many things so fast, and you can't really counter the Ursa Saga anyway. So if the Ursa Saga, if you sit and hold counter spells, the Ursa Saga maybe just gonna um, be the nail in your coffin when you're just sitting with your counter spells and they just create giant construct tokens. He immediately plays Ursa Saga. This is annoying. He played that so fast. This is where being on the play is important because then we could tie chipper earlier. Now he probably gets to do what we don't want him to do, which is create a construct token. So here we're considering, do we play the Glasspool Mimic or our mana fine? And I think our mana is fine, so I think we'll just play an island and say go. The Glasspool Mimic is actually pretty good card, so there's not any reason to throw that away yet. So here we'll touch his Ursa Saga. He'll get a construct token, but luckily we just do the Trickster. This is where we're really happy about that card. But again, it's fast over there. But it's just important to get the Ursa Saga off the ground before he gets the tutor value to find the artifact. So this is where the Dreadnought gets interesting. Of course, now he has his construct token. Because he created it in our turn, he can attack with it. So we'll take some damage here, going down to 14. And typically what they do with the Dreadnought is that they use their big construct tokens that they just create with Summoning Sickness to activate the Dreadnought. But here the cool thing about this is that we use our Skydiver to take his construct token, and the construct token is of course only going to be a 1/1 for us. But a 1/1 with all these vanilla big creatures attacking us is actually not that bad. And a 2/1 flyer in this situation is pretty good. He only has his Ornithopters. He top decks the Ursa Saga, plays the Ursa Lord High Artificer. This is the kind of the plays that would normally just make you win, right? Oh, see, I get two construct tokens, I get to activate my Dreadnought, I get a Ursa Lord Artificer. This is just a deck going off. Perfect draw, perfect play. We need to immediately drop block with our Tide Chipper. He's even on 20, so this is just us being really far behind. We need to get the Ursa Saga off the ground immediately when we need to find a land here so we can also play Trickster. Luckily we do. That was just a necessary play, and we need to kill the token immediately so he can't use it to activate his Dreadnought, because we can't take these hits right now. He probably anyway is going to create another thing next turn. But we start checking in for damage, getting him down to 18, passing the turn. This is where we're really under pressure. So Ursa Saga, he plays another Ursa Saga, he casts Mem Knight. He plays another Ursa just to get the token for the console Dreadnought. Decent play. I like it because he put pressure on our Dreadnoughts, and this is just we are under pressure here. But notice how important this is. We're on 14, so we would die from 2 hits on this. So we put down our token in front of it. And he can just gaining value from the clue tokens, drawing more cards. So we go to our turn. We draw Trickster. Great draw. This means that we got some outs here. But here we're considering what to do. We could, of course, we have a Skydiver again. We could construct token that, but we actually need in this situation to get the Ursa Saga off board as fast as possible. So we wanted to play the Adapt to see if we're lucky enough to find Spreading Seas. So we play down the Adapt, reveal the Lord of Atlantis. We're not lucky. We find a Mutavault. It's not terrible, but it's not the card we wanted. We wanted to find, in this situation, a way to get the Ursa Saga off board, because he's going to start creating tokens next turn, and he'll be able to activate the Dreadnought. So considerations here. What should we do? This situation is again the same. Should we Trickster down the construct token, or should we consider doing the Skydiver play? And the land was decent because we now can play that. We wanted to get the Spreading Seas, but actually stealing his construct token is also pretty strong. We did that before, so we'd say let's go there for that line again. We need to start blocking with some of our Merfolk or Scorp, because the annoying thing here we get it untapped. And he says, play with your own creatures, god damn it. Those are constructs are mine. So he's a good sport. We get in for 2. Important. He's on 16 now. But now the Saga is going off because we didn't find our spreading seas. He creates another token. He'll be able to activate his Consulate Dreadnought of this. You can see how strong Saga is in this deck. He's just fumbling around with his triggers a bit. Now he gets it. He needs to go on the stack first. So he got a 6/6. And he plays Nettlecyst. This is where the game gets tight because this is one of the best cards. And then he can use the Nettlecyst to activate the Dreadnought. So now suddenly we have a 7/7, an 8/8, and a 7/11. And it's not the convenience store. It's a big creature. And he can even put the Nettlecyst on the Ornithopter. So this is where we are under pressure now, because these two creatures are going to kill us really fast. Considering what to do here, the 8/10 in the air is pretty damn tough to come around. But then again, the Skydivers are pretty interesting for us. So we were considering which should we block here, and I think we go for the Adept on the Dreadnought. We can't. We need our Trickster alive. Of course, you have one on hand, but again, the Adept doesn't really do anything. So we say, yes, you can hit us with the Ornithopter. We go down to 6, but we do have a Trickster play next turn. And also, if we drew the land here, we could play Lord and double Mutavault activation, which would be 3, 6, 9, plus another 6. So he's almost dead here because of our potential Island Walk. So what we do is that we put down the Trickster, the copy of the Trickster, and Howler Trickster in hand, because of course the Mimic doesn't have flash. And what's going to happen now is that we need to tap down his aggressor from the Ursa Saga. Is going to now find the artifact. It's going to find his lifelinker. We know the Shadow Space coming in, so we need to have a Trickster in hand to tap down the creature, putting it on here. I think he's doing a bit of a mistake here. He puts it on the Ornithopter. And he should probably put it on the construct token instead. Yeah, or the Dreadnought. So he cruises Dreadnought. He has his Ornithopter. The reason why this is interesting because, of course, he's on 14, and we have 2 flyers. These are becoming interesting damage-wise. We can't get hit by at any time. At any point, we can't get hit by the lifelink. Then we would never get back in the game. And here we're just sitting and hoping he won't re-equip the Nettlecyst. We much rather want it to be on the Ornithopter. That's the big threat. So he goes to begin combat. Now he can't re-equip it. We can tap it down. Huge play for us. He only has the Dreadnought now, and we do have the contract token we can just block with. So notice here, he's on 14. We didn't even needed to throw away the Skydiver. If he had put it on the Dreadnought instead, we tap down the Dreadnought, of course, but we needed to then jump with the Skydiver, which would mean that we have one less attacker. So this was really a close game. We do the Trickster, doesn't really matter, because we can play down the Lord and activate Mutavault, and it'll be enough to kill him. He's just countering everything, but it is enough to kill him. Of course, considering do we have a Dismember? What's going on here? Luckily he does. He doesn't at this point, so we just want to go through the math 2, 4, 5 times. But notice how far ahead he got this game, and how much his deck went off, and we were still able to beat him. At this point, we need to just activate it and swing everything, boom, to the right. Thank you for listening. I was really glad that you managed to see this video. we played with actual cards. Once again, they need nice old border tide shapers. Glass Pool Mimics, Adepts. I'm using Fiery Islet in my real deck. They're real nice. Otivara, you perform so well. Master of the Pearl Trident. Svelun, MVP. So thank you guys for watching. If you want to watch some more of the gameplay I just showed you here, you should just click on the link. I'm going to link to my latest video. I'm going to put out a bit more content this week from more Modern Leagues online. And hopefully we'll see the channel. You can also subscribe. If I get 100 subscribers, I get to do much more cool stuff regarding my thumbnails. So do that. And see you next time. Bye bye.